Welcome to the Boomers, Bucks, and Bling podcast, where we turn retirement planning into a bit of a thrill ride. I'm your host, Carl Spiteri, and each week we'll dive into everything from reverse mortgages and staying put in style to Medicare, Social Security, and home safety. But wait, there's more. We're not just going to talk all about money and business. We're going to add some sparkle, some bling, as we chat with travel pros, party planners, and a lot of different topics that's going to help you make the most of your golden years. So grab a cup of tea or whatever it is you want to drink, get comfy, and let's make retirement planning an adventure of a lifetime. Welcome to this edition of Boomers, Bucks, and Bling. Today, we're privileged to have Tanya Parks on the call with us. Tanya is an inherited property specialist. She's a realtor. She's a broker, but she's what she identifies as an inherited property specialist. So tell us a little about that. What does that mean? And better yet, what is the coolest thing you've ever seen? I'm sure you run into all kinds of things, right?
I do, Carl, and thank you so much for having me. Yes, I'm Tanya Parks. I am a broker associate with Compass. I cut my teeth as an assistant in real estate in the early 2000s, and I've been a broker here in San Diego for over 10 years. I had some great years working with a wonderful local firm, Seacoast. I worked with Sotheby's for many years, and I couldn't be happier to be at Compass. And in my real estate journey, really, especially over the last, I would say 6 or 7 years, I started seeing a need in the market. I started being referred clients by trust attorneys, fiduciaries, and asset managers. And these clients were folks who were inheriting properties in San Diego after a loved one had passed, or sometimes even when a loved one was going into care. And I could realize that so many people who were inheriting these properties didn't live in San Diego. Many hadn't been to the property in a long time. Some were even estranged from that family member. And so knowing that these assets needed to be optimized prior to going on the market so that all the beneficiaries of an inheritance could get every last cent and dime and everything that was due to them during the process, the homes needed to be optimized in order to get those proceeds, but people could not always fly here to do it. They didn't have resources. The homes need to be cleaned and cleared of decades worth of items. And people just don't have the proximity, the time, the wherewithal, the money, or sometimes even just the emotional position. There's a lot of grief involved in this, and sometimes there's dynamics in the family. So seeing this need, I created a one-stop shop service chain where whether a family lives in San Diego or lives out of state, they can literally send me a key and I completely liquidate the home. I completely clear the home. I take care of some upfront safety items that people should really be aware of when they have an inherited property. And I go ahead and optimize the home, landscape the home, haul all the old chemicals. Sometimes I'm also liquidating things like cars and tools, equipment, anything you can imagine. And I just go through this really easy process, easy for me at this point, so that families and individuals who are inheriting don't have to deal with any of this. They can literally send me the key, and then in about a week to 10 days, they get an unbelievably gorgeous marketing package. The home goes on the market, it's completely optimized, and then I sell the home and make sure that the proceeds are dispersed to all the beneficiaries. And Carl, to your point, it's almost like I really have the honor of going into the museums of people's homes. Everyone's home is a museum unto themselves. And the things that we collect over the years are treasures, and they speak of who we are. And these days, family members generally don't want those things, and there's just nothing wrong with that. But I get to see some really special things. One of the
How do
most
you get it
special
done?
things
Oh,
I've seen recently is a beautiful paper napkin from the 4th of July dinner at the Presidio in San Francisco in 1919. So all the servicemen that were at the Presidio at 4th of July for dinner in 1919 received a paper napkin with their dinner. And this is from the days where there wasn't a stack of napkins, right?
right.
You were issued a napkin. And it was the most beautiful thing. It has the menu for that evening printed on it. So imagine this, that serviceman that night when he received his paper napkin at dinner with the menu of chicken fricassee and stewed corn and chocolate cake and special cheeses from Oregon. And the menu is phenomenal. But rather than use the napkin that night, the family member decided to fold it up, put it in their pocket, and it's been living in a drawer in the family home, not in a frame, it just in the back of a drawer. So that's one of the coolest things I've seen recently, but there's so many stories.
So what did you do with that?
Nothing's been done with that yet. I think the best thing for that item is probably to be sent to the Presidio so that they might keep it on grounds for their museum. And there's a lot of different levels to liquidating a home. There's high value things, there's medium value things, there's things that need to be donated. Then there's things like old oil and paint and chemicals, and those things need to be disposed of properly through hazardous materials. So it's almost like I become a filter where I filter through these items and take care of anything. Really special things like that should definitely be connected with a curator. Sometimes those types of things get sold, right, to also build upon the proceeds of the family. But this piece, the family isn't going to sell it. I think it might end up being sent to the Presidio.
How cool is that? Yeah, that must make it take real estate in a whole different mindset. I mean, because real estate is so transactional always, and this is just a whole different way to do it. I would imagine much more rewarding.
It is so rewarding for me. I tend to tease that this is not really for the faint of heart, right? Specializing in this. I feel uniquely built for it. There's a lot of respect and reverence that has to happen just because family members don't want the items in this home. They still want to know that the items are respected, that the items can get more use. And so it's very important to me to donate whatever I can. Um, it is a really different corner of real estate, but it is so unbelievably touching, Carl. It's almost like I become that family member who would do all that stuff for the family if there was someone in the family that could or would or wanted to. And again, I've had the loss of a parent, and I also remember the loss of my grandparent. And it's perfectly okay that not all family members want to or can or have the wherewithal to optimize the home and do all this work to get it ready to go on the market. It's perfectly okay if you don't want the stuff. It's perfectly okay if you live in the neighborhood and you still don't want to be the one to go through it all. That's what I do. I've built this service especially for that.
That is so cool. I would imagine you. I mean, you walk into whatever, you have no idea what you're walking into when you walk in. It's just to have that ability to just organize it all and start systematically getting rid of it. And I mean, I clean out my garage. I'm in there for 6 hours and I don't throw much away. And I'm exhausted by the time I'm done. Just going in and, hiring somebody to do it just seems like it'd be so nice.
Yeah, and I don't charge on top
I
of
was going to
my
ask you, so that was the
fee.
next
Yeah,
question. So
this is just built into the work that I do. And you're so right, Carl. I would say about 50% of the homes that I help in this way have sat vacant for at least a year. I've seen homes sit vacant for 2 years or more, only because the idea of clearing it out and doing all of this was so overwhelming to the families that even though there were heirs waiting on disbursements, that even though the home needed to be sold in order to settle a trust, just the thought of doing this is so overwhelming to folks that they will literally shut the door, lock it, and let the house sit there for 2 years, which, by the way, is not safe. It's not safe for a lot of reasons, but I understand why people feel overwhelmed. Conversely, once I built a system for it and have done it again and again and again, it's not overwhelming to me at all. I enjoy it. It's almost like one of those real estate TV shows where you have this grand transformation. And so I can take a home of almost any size through a full transformation in about 7 to 10 days. And that could mean that every room in the house is stacked to the ceiling with furniture and who knows what. That could mean that there's 2 cars in the garage that haven't been properly registered in a few years. I see all of that stuff, right? And I just have a process for it. And San Diego has some of the most incredible, hardworking people. And so my crew that it took me a couple years to build around me, I give them all the credit. I'm there to manage and to oversee the bigger picture, but they are just worth their weight in gold. I'm so grateful for everyone that works with me on these projects.
So tell me about you're a broker. You've been in the business for 20 years, right? Somewhere in there. You said the
No,
start of the
yeah, I
2000s.
was an assistant and I got out of the
Yeah.
business for a bit, but a good solid 12 years, 11, 12
Okay.
years.
Okay. So why did you, how did you choose this direction? Did you just get a listing and go, geez, what am I going to do with it? I mean, there was a pattern to it, I would assume.
Yeah, Carl, it's personal for me. It sort of happened organically. It's not something that I was considering building a business around. I lost my mother, and she at the time was living in San Diego. I lost her very suddenly, and she had at the time a rental. But I was so aggrieved that I could not go over and clear everything out in the rental. And the world stops for nothing. You know this, Carl. So, someone passes away and the landlord says, I'm so sorry, but we're going to be renting this 2 weeks from now. So go ahead and, right? So it's very difficult. And I had a friend go over and they did it for me. And there was a part of me that wondered if that was okay, right? And should
Hmm.
I be doing this? But I
That's your
was
mom's
so,
stuff,
so
right?
grieved. I just couldn't do it. That's why I have so much empathy for people. It's like, it's okay if you can't do this. There's nothing wrong with you. It's not unloving. It's not, there's no lack of respect. Call in someone who will be you by proxy, right? So I
Hmm.
had to have someone who could be me by proxy in that moment. And it just gave me so much peace. And not long after that, organically in my business, because I've been doing multi-units, I've been doing luxury, I've been doing buyers, I've been doing traditional sales. But not soon after that experience, I started getting contacted specifically by asset managers who were representing families who had inherited an asset. And so it
So
was this
they're
reverse
the trust
situation.
attorneys that are calling you.
Yeah, exactly. And so all of a sudden I got to do this thing for other people. And then it all made sense. I go, oh, this is this is like a balancing. What I couldn't do for myself and someone helped me with, I'm now doing for other people. So it was this
Hmm.
great healing for me. And then the need is just unbelievable. Most people, Carl, inheriting homes in San Diego right now do not live in San Diego. And it could take them 2 to 4 weeks to do the preparation I do if they even had all the people on call and the resources. Because
Well,
you've got
yeah.
to,
How do you drop your life, fly in, and spend 2 to 4 weeks cleaning out a house, whether you're doing it yourself or monitoring it? How do you stop your life for any length of time?
that's exactly right. People have their own lives, they've got their own families. They cannot do this. And then there's an expense. And for most homes, I take care of all the expense and I just get paid for the sale of the home. So it's as easy as I could possibly make this for other people, having known what it feels like to go through this myself.
It sounds like an incredible service. I mean, I'm really, really impressed by it.
Oh, thank
It's,
you.
I've kind of taken the path in my career toward the reverse mortgage world, as a lot of people that listen to our podcast know, and there's a certain gratification of helping people in their last quarter of life,
Yeah.
and what you're doing is after that fact, but it again, it's benefiting the family. There's a certain reward to just helping people through a very, very difficult time. I mean, we all know we're all going to get old, and we're all not going to be here one day, and there's different ways to help, and I think what you do is incredible. So
Mhm. I'm so glad that you understand, and I'm so grateful to share it because what really breaks my heart is when I'm telling people about this in a networking situation or if I have an opportunity to speak on it, and people come to me and they say, "Oh my gosh, we just went through this. My brother just went through this. We wish we would have known. My neighbors just went through this." They almost got a divorce over it, right? Because it is so, so stressful. The other thing is that this system that I've built, it also works great for people who are downsizing or people who are moving into care or people who are moving out of the area. It's like it's for anyone who is like, I don't want to deal with it. Here are the keys. I want nothing that's in this home, or I have a couple things I need help with getting to the right channels, whether that be selling or like we talked about earlier with that napkin going into a museum. But it's for anyone who, for any reason, just doesn't want to deal with it. Because just like in reverse mortgage, Carl, which I think is such an important thing for people to maybe start considering a little more than they have in the past. The idea that you can continue living in your home, but that you can pull equity out of your home and do the things that you would like, give your heirs the things that they're hoping to receive. You can do that in your lifetime. You can be
yeah,
there to see it and experience it. Or maybe you yourself need to pull some money out for healthcare, or maybe there's a trip you've always wanted to take, or some work that needs to be done at the house, right? So for people who want to stay in the home, it's so important to start reconsidering what the reverse mortgage can do for people.
and
And
you
then,
want a job? You explain it so well. I can hire you today, and
well, I'm a believer. I'm a believer. It's not right for everyone, but it's
right,
right for a lot of people, especially these days, right? And
yeah,
then
things
because
are
there's
expensive. They're not
so
getting
much
cheaper.
equity in these homes, right?
Yeah,
You know, but at the same turn, for anyone who does not want to stay in the home, but is being held hostage by the fear of everything it's going to take to move out of the home, I
it's the
just
big thing.
say, I can unburden you of all of that. That's what I do.
When you think of 20 years, 30 years living in a home, you can't help but accumulate stuff. I think it's impossible, right? So the fact that they can hire a realtor, a broker, a professional with a major company
Yeah,
that will do it and at no cost to them,
yeah.
that's amazing.
I know I can't do people any better than that. But
No,
I think the best part of this, Carl, is that what I have found is when you do this for people, three great things happen. One is when you're building that trust initially, for them to allow you to start the process and clear out the home, that is such a victorious moment for them because something in them is getting ready to release and let go and move on into the future. And then the second thing is once I've transformed the home and then I share the media package with people, this other healing and victory happens because they get a little bit of a psychological sense of detachment from the house. The transformations are so profound that the home doesn't really look like Auntie's house anymore, or grandpa's house anymore, or grandma's house, or mom's house, right? And so just seeing the home in a new light, they get a little bit of peace of mind and a little detachment, and then they're really ready for the disbursement. They're not hanging on to the fear, they're not hanging on to the stuff, they're not hanging on to the home with all that heavy psychology, it just lightens them up. And then the third victory is when I sell the home. I get them incredible proceeds and make that a process that's very safe for the trustee or trustees. Sometimes these homes are in probate. There's a lot to it. You really have to understand a trust sale and how to do your best to strategize and guide the decision makers so that everyone feels heard, everyone feels respected, and people don't go into that defensive mode. That's where you start seeing problems and family members suing each other and doing these things. So
I went in and cleaned out the house, and so I deserve an extra 10%. And well, yeah, that kind of bickering starts to happen, right?
all of that. And
Yeah.
when you become really, when you've done many of these, you become adept at helping everyone be part of the big picture so that the big picture is achieved, right? That's what's important. Once everyone has decided that it's about the money and not the house, which is the case these days, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay if you don't want to keep grandma's china. It's okay if you don't want to keep grandma's house. It's okay if what everyone in the family really needs right now are the proceeds from this sale so they can put children through college, so they can deal with their own medical care, so they can do
Plan
whatever.
for retirement, put their kids to school. I mean, the same things
Thank
that we look
you.
at reverse mortgage for is the same thing that they're looking at selling a property for, right?
Yeah.
It's
And
preparing for the future.
yes. And so once everyone is aligned, it doesn't take much to get people unaligned, right? It's very
Right.
emotional. So everywhere there's really an art to it, Carl. There's an art to it to making everyone feel cared for and loved and respected and that they're part of decisions, even if there's only one true decision maker. And that really mitigates those issues. So when the house gets sold for more than anyone thought, that's a tremendous victory. And then I almost become just
Yeah.
like a cousin,
Yeah,
then I
exactly.
get the Christmas cards and because it's so intimate. It's such a deep, deep, intimate real estate process. It's like no other. I'm so blessed.
Well, Tanya, I promised you about a half an hour of your time, so I'm going to keep to my word. But tell our audience how to get a hold of you, because I mean, what you do is incredible, and they should definitely know how to get a hold of you. So
I love a phone call. Let's get on the phone. 619-550-8887. My website is tparksrealestate.com. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, T Parks Real Estate. But I would just absolutely love a call. There's a couple things when people inherit a home, there's a couple things that they should be aware of right away in order to keep that house safe. And even if someone's not ready to sell a home or not ready to work with me, at least give me a call and let me give you like those top 5 things that you need to check on right away to keep the assets safe, to keep yourself out of liability, and just to make sure that if you want to lock that house for 2 years, you can do that, right? But there's a couple things you should do to make sure that the home is safe and that you won't be liable for things like firearms, and there's some other things. So just give me a call and we'll have that conversation. It could just be as simple as that.
Give us your phone number one more time.
619-550-8887.
Thank you once again for your time. I really appreciate it. I'm sure our audience will get an enormous amount of information out of this call. So thanks again. Enjoy your day.
Oh, thank you, Carl. Thanks for having me.